This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar. Hello, everybody. Nailed it. Joined as always by our Barth. That's a fit. That's a match. No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
It's Thanksgiving. It'd be nice to have Thanksgiving off. Also,
Selfish.
well, it is totally selfish. It is on my bucket list to go to the Iron Bowl. Alabama,
so
Auburn.
selfish. This is
and
what is
it's
it?
like the
I
only
asked
way
you
I'll
if there
ever be
were
able to do
trends
it.
for the Patriots in terms of the competitive.
No, you asked
nature
what
of
I
the
look
team.
for. You asked what I look
and you're
for.
just talking about how you want to go to the Iron Bowl, so you hope that the bye week is the week of the Iron Bowl.
22.
Well, we're going to do some schedule today, and we have the actual schedule now. We're not just going off of rumors like we were last week. And Alex, do you get to go to the Iron Bowl?
I do not get to go to the Iron Bowl.
You don't. Oh no! Look at his face.
Do you get to go? Do you get to
need to
go
rub it in.
to?
See, look at how upset he is.
Do you get to go to? Never mind, I won't say it.
No.
We had the discussion off the air.
The schedule's out. Like the Patriots
Yeah.
tweeted out the preseason schedule. So I have tickets. Jess and I have tickets to Zach Brown Band on August 19th, which we just found out I will be in Green Bay for Patriots Packers preseason week number 2. So guess who is not going to Zach Brown Band concert?
I bought tickets for Bruce Springsteen here at Gillette that Saturday because I said, they always play preseason
and
on Thursday. I'll get the Saturday tickets.
You lucked out.
Game's on Friday. I get to do both.
You lucked out, man.
So Iron Bowl will have to wait, but I get to see Bruce.
God, I'm in trouble. Anyways, we're going to be with you for the next hour or so. We sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's hour 10. We don't really have a set time here, so I just kind of say hour or so. That's the best I can do. But we're going to do some schedule because we were on the show last Thursday while the rumors were trickling out about the Patriots schedule, but we weren't on the show when we had the actual schedule in hand. So I have some thoughts. Alex, I'm sure you have some thoughts on the Patriots schedule, and then we'll do better, worse, same. The defense, we did offense last week, and then we can take your calls. 855-PATS-500 or your emails at webradio@patriots.com for any and all other Patriots inquiries, or if you have a take on what we're talking about, it's all on the table for you. So just give us a call and we'll discuss.
We taking Taylor Swift calls?
We are taking Taylor Swift calls, and we're gonna do a Taylor Swift, maybe a Celtics minute too, if we can sneak it in. But because I have takes about my Celtics, and
Your Celtics.
I have some. I'll wear this one. It's my Celtics, and I have some Taylor thoughts. I like Taylor. I enjoy her music. Not enough to buy a ticket to the concert of the Millennium. I'm not gonna lie, but I've been known to turn on some Swift every once in a while. Especially it's really good music, and I think I said this the other day. I don't know if we were on air, but like when we're coming back from road games. And my writing's done. Everything, the hay is in the barn, as they say. And we have a little bit of a plane ride. And I just need something to just tune out.
Just looking out the plane window?
Yeah, just stare out the plane.
Watching yourself cross the country?
Yeah, watching myself fly above the clouds while listening to some Taylor Swift is not a horrible jam.
It's called main character syndrome.
I don't know what that means.
People will get that joke. You're not alone in that. You're not alone in that.
No, it's like good soothing background music. It's poppy, it's light, it's not anything serious. It's not, I'm a rap fan, as you know, but sometimes you turn on some rap at that point in your time, you're like, I'm not looking to get pumped up right now, I'm looking to wind down. So I like some Taylor Swift. We'll give some thoughts on that maybe here in a little bit, but let's start with the schedule.
Yep.
So I think my two biggest takeaways from the schedule: one, this team is going to sink or swim with the first month of the season. Yeah. Either this team is going to be take us all by surprise coming out of the gate in those first 4 weeks. So it's Philly, Miami, Jets, Cowboys. Yeah. And that's going to be make or break the season in September, which I don't love, to be honest with you, because as people that cover the team and try to drum up at least a little bit of interest and excitement in the team, if they're 0-4 out of the gate, then there goes your football season, right?
Right.
But at the same time, we are going to learn a lot about this team, and I think in general, the two things that are good about it are, one, what I'm maybe more looking forward to is learning about the defense. Like, can this defense take that next step with Christian Gonzalez now in the cornerback room? I'll even give Keon White and Marty Mapu to them, right? Like, with some of these pieces that they've added to an already pretty good defense. Can this defense take that next step from being elite against bad competition, okay against good competition, to elite against everybody. And I think that that's really what I'm hoping to see out of that defense, especially that week 1 matchup against Philadelphia, because on paper, that's the type of team that roasts Bill Belichick's defense, right? A mobile quarterback, option style offense, had those college gimmicky type things with RPOs and motion and things like that. Couple good receivers to throw the football to, great offensive line. On paper, the Eagles hang 40 on the Patriots on opening night. Can the Patriots stem that tide? Can they come out and stop and shut down an elite offense and a good quarterback who's a dual threat, all those types of things? The other thing I think out of that is Mac Jones. Like, can Mac Jones win a couple games that we don't think he should win, or we don't think they should win? And the way that you do that is by winning a game against Jalen Hurts 38-35 in week 1. Or winning a game against Aaron Rodgers, right, in the Jets, and going toe-to-toe with Rodgers and that offense and putting up more points than the opponent. And I'm not talking about winning 17-14, like actually outscoring an opponent to a W. That's not necessarily something that we have seen in the Mac Jones era. So you're going to learn a lot about them, but you're also in jeopardy of falling too far underwater, right? Like sinking too much in the first month of the year. They, to me, to have a real chance at a postseason berth, need to go 2-2 in the first month of the season, and that's going to be a tall task.
Yeah, it absolutely is. My general takeaway, I've got a couple of them. The big picture one, in a lot of ways, this is structured similarly to their schedule the last few years.
Yeah,
starts tough. You've got kind of a softer landing spot in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you close with a gauntlet once again. And that's what it was in 2021. That's what it was in 2022. The difference being, I think that soft spot in the middle, the last 2 years, was about a month and a half, right?
Yeah.
It was like 6-7 games. This year, it's 3-4 games, and that includes a game in Germany,
right? Which
I think by default isn't easy, even if maybe the Colts aren't the best team. So the soft stretch of this schedule is not, it's you blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
The other thing, this is kind of a glass half full, glass half empty thing. I've heard people put it both ways. Kansas City is going to be their toughest game no matter what.
Right.
They do get, outside of having a bye week before, which we've seen what this team's been after the bye the last couple of years, so maybe it's good they don't have an immediate bye week before it, as much time as they could possibly have to prepare for that game, because they play Kansas City on Thursday night, they play Pittsburgh on Thursday night on the road, but then it's Kansas City Monday night at home. So no travel day.
Right.
There's essentially 4 extra days baked into that preparation. How much of a difference will that make? I don't know. Will it be enough? Probably not, but that's something you have. But then I've had people come back and say, well, then you have a short week going to Denver on Christmas Eve in a spot where they've struggled. I'll take the extra time to prepare for Kansas City, because if they can steal that game, they're in great shape. But, to start with Philly, to have Kansas City in the spot where they are, based on some of the rumors we were hearing leading up that end up being false, leading up to the schedule release, I almost feel like I feel good about the schedule, because some of the stuff we heard was so much significantly worse than what it ended up being. But this is as tough a schedule, not just the opponents, but the way it's structured, as they've had in a while.
Yeah, so I did this. I did a little thought exercise. I shared this on PU already, but we'll do it here too quickly. I broke it up into projected wins, projected losses, and then what I call coin flip games, where
toss-ups
could go either way, right? Projected wins. And this year, it feels to me, and you can say this probably every year, but it really feels to me this year that when I say projected, these have to be W's. Like, if you don't come out with wins from these games, then getting to 10 wins to get into the playoffs, it's almost impossible.
Right.
Saints, Commanders, Colts.
Saints, Commanders, Colts.
We'll see about the Saints.
Yeah.
They do have Derek Carr now,
yeah.
So they have an okay quarterback situation. I wouldn't say they have a great quarterback situation, but they're okay at quarterback now. We'll see about their team as the season progresses, but if you can't beat Sam Howell and rookie Anthony Richardson, then you're not a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, those are two teams that could be, I don't know about the Saints. Saints should be in position for a top 5 pick. The Commanders could have a shot at the number 1 pick.
Yeah. Losses.
Yep.
Philly,
Yep.
Dallas,
Yep.
Buffalo,
Yep.
Kansas City.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think
So right now, what, 3-5, 3-6?
yes, this is what I'm getting at, right? Is we're even just if we give them wins where we think there should be wins, and even if we split the coin flips, which I'll get to in a second,
Yeah.
it's not looking so hot.
Right.
The last thing I'll say about the losses, Buffalo. I'm going to make a college football reference for you.
Oh, okay.
You know how sometimes they say that, for Auburn, like beating Alabama is like kind of the Super Bowl, right? Like if
you're having a bad season,
yeah,
but you beat your rival, it gives you something. There
right.
There have been coaches who, maybe not as much the Alabama-Auburn series, but there's other rivalry series where I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head.
Ohio State, Michigan.
No, because neither of those schools ever fire coaches. The South Carolina-Clemson rivalry.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, South Carolina's I can't remember the year of the coach, but a couple years ago, South Carolina's coach was like done. They had a really bad year. Everybody was like, he's going to lose his job. And then they beat Clemson, and he got another year.
Right.
So, that kind of thing.
So,
not to say that Bill's going to keep his job just if they beat Buffalo, but I'm saying
no,
that one win can change the way you look at a season.
If they beat Buffalo straight up, no wind, no injury to Josh Allen, just straight up beat Buffalo, and they finish with the record that I'm about to project that they finish with, then I do think you feel a little bit better.
Right.
You do.
It changes the way you look at it.
Because you look at next year, 2024, now being a year where you really take that step forward. Like you're competing now, and you might not have the wins to show for it, but then in 2024, that's when it really starts to take off.
Although, a couple things for that. One, that's where you're supposed to be year 2 with the rookie quarterback,
and we're kind of in year 2 with a rookie quarterback.
We're kind of going backwards, but
you know what I mean, though.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say about that is, all right, we're getting way into semantics.
Yeah.
What if Buffalo just isn't good this year? What if you beat Buffalo, but then they go 10-7?
You've been waiting for Buffalo to not be good for 3 years.
I've been saying they're going to regress for the last 2 years, and they've regressed the last 2 years.
There's a chance. I'm not saying that they're not. They're a playoff team.
Yeah.
No matter what. But is there a chance that they're not as good as they've been? Certainly. Yeah. They've started to lose some pieces as they've gotten better.
I'm just saying, get ready for them to go 10-7, 11-6, and everybody be like, oh, Buffalo win doesn't matter. It's not the same Bills. Get ready for that.
Okay. Coin flips. Dolphins and Jets ×2, right? Those 4 games.
Yeah.
I think are coin flips. Raiders, Giants, Chargers, Broncos, Steelers. Now, the Giants, I think that they should win that game. It's in New York, but it's not a travel. It's a 30-minute flight. But I just respect Dable a lot, so I think that's a tough game to win.
I do too. I think there's 2 kinds of coin flip games.
Yeah.
Right. The Jets games, the Miami games. I'd even say a game against a team like Vegas, against a team like Pittsburgh. Those are legitimately these are 2 very even teams.
Right.
They're going to get on the field and we'll see what happens. The other kind of coin flip game, and this would be a team like Denver or a team like New York. It's a coin flip because we have no idea what this team is.
Right.
Right? By the time we get to that Denver game, it's not going to be a coin flip.
Yeah.
Because either
they're terrible or they're good again.
Right. Either the whole problem last year was Nathaniel Hackett and Sean Payton's fixed it, and now they're the wagon everybody expected them to be. Or, and by the way, I subscribe to this school theory, Russell Wilson might be washed.
He might be cooked.
And I don't think it's necessarily going to be as ugly as it was last year, because Hackett did play a big role in that thing falling apart. And Payton's a better coach. But I don't think Sean Payton can fix everything, every single thing.
Well, if Russell Wilson just physically can't play at the level that he used to, that you can't fix that.
So that's a coin flip right now, but there's a chance that that's a very winnable game.
Yeah.
Right? I would say the same about the Giants. Was Daniel Jones a flash in the pan? And I respect the hell out of Daboll too. I really do. But was Daniel Jones a flash in the pan, or was this Brian Daboll doing for him what he did for Josh Allen?
Yeah. The other game that I put on the coin flip category, and I'm going to get to my Denver take in a second because I have a bone to pick.
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I need to see Mac Jones beat Kenny Pickett.
They're similar teams.
I need to see Mac Jones beat Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
If he can't, it's Thursday night game. It's prime time, island game, all on its own. And the discourse around the Patriots, who would probably be hovering around 500 at that point of the season, right?
Right.
A team looking at 8-9 again. the discourse around this team, if Mac Jones gets outdueled by Kenny Pickett in a primetime game, I can't do it.
Whichever quarterback loses that game is going to be viewed as on the hot seat for the offseason.
Right. So that is, I think it's 9 coin flip games. The Dolphins and Jets, those 4 games, Raiders, Giants, Chargers, Broncos, Steelers.
I'll say this about the Chargers game.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Is it?
It is a home game. It's a 1 p.m. game. So that's a 10 a.m. body clock game for the Chargers, which is something I do subscribe to.
And even in the 2 games there, Belichick has owned Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not even it's just kind of close. I agree that it's a coin flip game.
They have a better quarterback, so you can't just chalk it up to a win.
Yes, but Herbert has not been who he is.
But so I hope this doesn't happen. But eventually Josh Allen solved Bill too.
Sure.
Right? And when you're that physically talented, there's always that chance that this is the game that Justin Herbert finally figures out.
But the difference is Josh Allen had Brian Daboll, who we know is a great coach. Justin Herbert has probably the worst coach in the league.
You just don't like him because he's nerdy.
He's a bad coach.
He's a numbers guy.
He willingly took his team out of a playoff position. Okay. All right.
We're not going to do this
today. He's a bad coach. No, he's just a bad coach.
We can do this when they play the Chargers.
We can. If he still has his job.
I have 3 penciled in wins.
Yeah.
And I have 9 coin flip games. So if we split the coin flip games in half, because they are a coin flip game,
yes,
it's 4.5 wins plus 3. I'm looking at
even if you give them the benefit of the split.
I'm looking at 8 and 9.
I think even if you give them the benefit in the coin flip games at 5 and 4, they're 8 and 9.
Right.
They're under 500.
So let's call them 8 and 9 for a second. Out of Philly, Dallas, Buffalo times 2 in Kansas City, they gotta figure out a way to pull out 1 of the or 2 of those games to stem the tide. Which ones do you give them the best chance to do?
So you're gonna say that I'm saying this because I hate Buffalo. Divisional football is always weird. You know them well,
but they just smoked them.
And I know, but
in fair, no wind tunnel game
to flip it back on what you just said. Eventually, Josh Allen figured out Bill Belichick. Right.
All right. So you think that Bill Belichick's eventually going to refigure out Josh Allen?
Yeah, and
is that the hope?
They've gotten, I think, closer than it looks. The last 2 years, they've just had a key interception, would have flipped the game, dropped. It was in the exact same spot on the field.
The second game in 21 was closer than it looked.
Yeah.
Offensively, they were bad in that game as well. But the score was closer than the end. The 2 games last year, I don't know how particularly
I would even say the game here last year, it wasn't as close as that game in 20, but it's the same thing. They had, I don't remember who it was who dropped it.
The offense was just so terrible in that game here last
year. So here
year.
comes Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
The other one is Dallas.
Yeah.
Because
I just remember Mac's rookie year again.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop. I think Dallas had 600 yards in that game.
They did, but Dallas is super hot and cold.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch the Chiefs on an off week. It's not going to happen. Right?
Even their off weeks are like what the Brady or a Patriots off weeks.
Right, exactly. The off week is, maybe you end up getting within 2 touchdowns. Right. You catch Dallas on an off week, you can very much beat them because they'll get sloppy with the football and Trayvon Diggs starts getting too aggressive.
Right, it can happen.
So, I don't, of your, loss games.
Yeah.
I would say Dallas is the easiest game on that list because
me too.
It's just a very inconsistent
team.
Yeah,
I would say Dallas is as well, and they're changing offensive coordinators. It sounds like Mike McCarthy might call plays again.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy's going to call plays. It's early in the year.
And it's slant flat 150 times because that's what he does. I think that there's a possibility that you could steal Dallas. I do.
Yeah.
So I'll give them that. It's tough, though. It's a tough schedule, and I think we knew that. My gripe.
Yeah.
And this is personal. Yep. This is totally selfish.
Okay, but I got yelled at for doing this last week.
Yeah, you did, and I'm going to do it this week.
And it's not Zach Brown related.
Putting the Patriots on Christmas Eve at primetime on the road a year after putting the Patriots on Thanksgiving at primetime on the road is malpractice. This is outrageous. And this is coming from a Jew that I'm this outraged by it, but I still am.
By the way, it's going to be New Year's next year.
This is outrageous. Not only are they on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It's prime time.
Yeah.
In Denver, which is a 4.5 hour flight. I will quite literally be flying across the country back for Christmas Day with Santa to make it in time.
Listening to Taylor
Swift. And I am displeased. They took away my Thanksgiving last year. I was really was really upset by that. I'm not as upset about Christmas Eve because as I just mentioned, I am Jewish, so it's not as big of a deal to me. It's obviously a big deal to my other half, but it's not as big a deal to me. But last year Thanksgiving I was bummed.
Yeah,
I was bummed. Like I
was too.
That's such a perfect day for you to just you don't have to work. You don't have to watch the Patriots. You just sit back. You eat a bunch of food. You watch football all day. It's a great day. And now Christmas Eve this year, and then they play on New Year's, the following week.
I don't care about.
I don't care about New Year's that much either.
It's the worst holiday.
The Christmas and Thanksgiving back-to-back primetime year, like that's horrible. That's terrible. Come on. Do you not care about our families? And I'm talking on behalf of the players and coaches right now too. Like, do you not care about any of our families? Is that what this is?
I don't disagree with you. Somebody's got to do it. They went like 12 years without a game on a holiday, so we are kind of due.
They don't care. They don't care about our families, Alex.
It's annoying. It's absolutely annoying. Well, I mean, we had heard whispers. I don't know. Can I talk about the thing we'd heard?
I don't know which one it is.
Oh, you know what? It had been discussed openly on other stations. So, that it was going to be Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had heard that would have been. I would have lost it.
Yeah, no, not Thanksgiving again. They obviously played Dallas in Dallas, so the idea was it could be Thanksgiving.
When you looked at, it was like looking at who Dallas was playing as the schedule started to leak. It came down to a point where there was like only 3 teams left Dallas could play on Thanksgiving, and the Patriots were one of them. So it was like, here we go. But nope.
Christmas Eve in Denver.
It's a tough draw.
On primetime.
And you know it's going to snow.
Terrible.
You know it's going to snow.
Terrible. Lastly, I do like the schedule, the fact that we're basically our season is pre-Germany, post-Germany, right? Like that's, because the bye week is in there. It's not exactly right in the middle of Germany. It's week 10. It's not like week 9 or week 8, but it's close enough to the middle that's how the season's going to feel to me, at least. Yeah. It's going to be, let's get to Germany, let's play in Germany, and then reset after the bye, and then that's when, as Bill Belichick would say, real football starts in November and December.
Well, I remember last year, because people always say, like, when do you want the bye week? When do you want the bye week? In the schedule release video last year, which, by the way, the one this year was outstanding. Credit to everybody who worked on that. Do you remember the one last year was just like which was also great. Like, it was a very different kind of thing. And people always say, when's the ideal bye week? I never quite knew what to answer.
Yeah.
Ernie said last year, week 10 was the ideal bye week because you want as in the middle of the season as possible with slightly later, preferable to slightly earlier, right? Yeah. So 10 would be the ideal, I guess, or 9 would be the ideal in an 18-week season.
Yeah.
I feel like 11 is perfect, pretty close. Like, you can't complain about that.
And that's my last point is I'm glad that they did take the bye after Germany because I think the whole team's going to be wiped out.
Not everybody got that. I know people think that that's a guarantee. Buffalo's playing in London. I forget when it is, but Buffalo's playing in London, and then they play the next week. Their bye week isn't for like a month and a half.
Yeah,
until after their international game.
That seems brutal. Yeah. So I'm glad that bye is coming right after Germany. I think that really it's a blessing in disguise that there's no other set up for a week-long trip someplace else, right? So we got one of those. Right. Last year they had 2. They had the Miami trip, and then they had the West Coast Vegas or Arizona Vegas back-to-back trip. Right. This year is just going to be Germany. They do have the joint practices in the summer, but that's a little bit, it's kind of its own thing. So I think that the schedule from that aspect, from a travel aspect to when Germany is to the bye week after Germany sets up okay. We knew the opponents coming in. Yeah. We knew it was going to be a tough gauntlet of opponents coming in, and we'll see what this team is made of.
One other interesting thing, I don't know if this means anything, just the way football's played and it being a once a week kind of game, but it feels like the last couple years the schedule is very much home road, and you'd get like maybe one double home and one double road.
Yeah.
This year it's all over the place. Home, road, home, road, home, bye, and then it road, home, road, home. So it evens out a little bit, I guess, in the second half, but you normally don't see it that many combined, right?
Right.
Home and road as staggered as it is. You normally see it pretty evenly distributed. Again, because you're only playing once a week and you're preparing at home and all that, it's not the same as like when you look at a baseball schedule, you see like a 10-game road trip. Yeah. It's not quite like that. But I don't know. That stood out to me. It's not how I feel like it usually is.
Alex, Andrew wants you to come to the cocktail party the Saturday before the road game at Miami, Florida. I think or Miami, Georgia. Maybe?
Oh, is he so?
We have a condo in St. Augustine. You can tailgate and watch the dogs and the Gators. David Andrews would appreciate this.
So what he's talking about is the Florida-Georgia rivalry, which is one of the biggest in the SEC.
Yeah.
David Andrews knows a lot about this.
Yes.
It's played in Jacksonville every year, neutral site.
Okay.
The nickname for the rivalry is what is it? The world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
It's the
world's
party.
largest. I don't know. Maybe outdoor isn't in
Yeah.
there, but that is another bucket list game. I have a
There you go.
group of friends that we do college football stuff with, like we just already talk about, and we want to do a yearly trip. The cocktail party, absolutely on the list. I'm assuming the emailer's a Dogs fan based off what he said there. Right?
It doesn't specify.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't specify.
I'd like to go see it. Nothing against
He
Georgia.
does say the road game at Miami, so I'd assume that means he's a Georgia fan, right?
Well, no, he's saying when the Patriots are in Miami, it must be that weekend.
Whoa.
It must be that weekend.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. Yeah, you're right.
I would like. I'm not a fan or against either team. I just kind of appreciate the SEC.
Yeah.
I would kind of like to see Florida get back to standing and see it as like a ranked game, because Georgia's just whooping Florida right now in that series. Shout out to David Andrews, but
Georgia's whooping everybody.
That is up there on the bucket list, the cocktail party.
Okay, all right. Well, there's your college football 30 seconds. And before
it is the world's largest outdoor cocktail
before
party.
we get to better, worse, same on the defense, I do want to address one thing.
Yeah.
And last week we talked a little bit about Malik Cunningham, and I rolled my eyes at the Malik Cunningham buzz. I think I might have compared it to Jeff Thomas or something of the ilk of that like. And I wrote the UDFA thing that we all write, 19 straight years. Who's the guy that's going to make it 20?
I still haven't written mine yet.
Yeah, we all got to do it. It's like it's a yearly tradition.
People like it.
It's an easy one. And I did watch some Malik Cunningham, and I came away more optimistic about him developing at quarterback than anything. I think that there's some really big peaks and valleys to his game as a passer, especially his downfield deep passing. He's an inaccurate deep passer right now. I think he completed 31% of his deep passes last year. He's not a very good 20-plus yard thrower, right?
Right.
Real deep ball. So that's a concern, but I actually thought that his ability to throw in rhythm, on time, at the first and second level was better than expected, and he takes a little bit off of it. Like, he does throw a little bit of a catchable ball, the old pillowy catchable ball cliche. I think he can do that, and certainly he has the running ability. What he isn't is this cyborg Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes off-platform second reaction magician, right? He's not going to bring that to the table. He's not going to run around for 4 seconds and then flick the wrist and fling it 60 yards down the field to an open receiver. Like, that's not the type of guy that he is. But he is more, I would say, like Marcus Mariota, I don't know, Tyrod Taylor, like that. Like,
he's more athletic than those guys.
But he's mobile, in structure, like in design. Yeah. And he can scramble a little bit, but I wouldn't say that he, like I just mentioned, that he's this off-platform second reaction or out of structure.
He's not
playmaker.
An improviser.
Thank you.
So what he's going to do, and look, he is supremely athletic and he's great with the ball in his hands, but it's not when he starts moving. So, all right, here's I think what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
When Mahomes or Allen or Aaron Rodgers, these guys, when they start moving, when they play breaks down and they start using their legs, they're still looking to throw.
Right.
They're using their legs to extend their window to throw the football.
Yeah.
Malik Cunningham, he'll stand back in the pocket and throw. He's not a guy that's going to look to run first, but when it breaks down, he's running. He's not running to extend the play to throw.
And there's
he's running to scramble.
I assume they are in the playbook like RPOs. It might be like more like package style plays where there are routes being run, but he clearly has like a QB draw option.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's an RPO draw, but the draw is to the quarterback, right? And he's got this ability where his blockers are run blocking and they're working up to the second level of defenses or lead blocking, but he still has some routes that he could branch off of if he wants to, and if he likes the look or if it's an easy completion, he might throw it. But he more often than not runs the draw.
It's basically still the offense Lamar Jackson ran when he was there. They really haven't changed much. So
yeah,
how much did you watch?
I watched probably 4 or 5 games. I watched some of it, just broadcast angle, but I watched like 1 or 2 of the all 22.
So my take on Malik Cunningham throughout his 4 years at Louisville was just there were times where he looked good.
Yeah.
He was never good enough for long enough.
Yeah.
For me to say, yeah, there's real NFL quarterback upside there.
Right. Like he played well against Florida State. That was sort of the big game statistically for him. And then I watched the Syracuse game, and he should have had 4 turnovers in that game.
Right.
He was terrible.
There's probably a handful of plays I think you can pull in each game. You could put together a long enough reel where you could sell somebody, but he gets very impatient, and I think his mechanics break down because of it.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of he doesn't throw from a even plane.
Yeah.
His shoulders and his axis is not even, so he tilts back like this. And when you tilt back like that, you airmail it.
He's
right?
uncorking it. It's like that. I forget who the meme is.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit of like a shot put.
Just wait till we get to Joe Milton.
So you want to throw with your shoulders even, and you want everything to just kind of come linear through your body. And he kind of tilts back. Cam Newton had the same issue.
Yeah.
And when you do that, the ball it goes high. You sail it.
I don't know if this is the technical term, but it should be the technical term. He yeets the football.
Yeah. He
really does. And like it's all fixable. This is a guy. He's older. He's been he was a 5-year starter.
That's the concern that you have is
how much ceiling does he have?
It's mechanically, I think it's fixable, but he kind of throws the way he throws at this point.
Right.
And I think this is what a lot of people ran into with Cam Newton. It's like, yeah, we can rework his mechanics to be more by the book, but he's been doing it this way for so long that the muscle memory is just what it is.
Right.
And I think it's similar with Malik Cunningham to an extent. The other thing that stood out to me with him is I would really like to see them develop him at quarterback and see where he can get to as a passer. The one thing that, other than the mechanical type of stuff, is he's not a very good eye manipulator. So he stares down receivers, and he really brings defenders to his intended targets, and especially zone defenders will just jump routes on him left and right. And he just, that I think is more fixable than some of the mechanical issues.
Because he knows where to look.
Yes.
Problem is he looks there too long, but he certainly knows how to read a defense.
Yeah.
Let me throw one more thing at you.
Yeah.
And you're going to hate this, but I don't care.
Okay, cool.
So everybody's assuming, he's super athletic and, Julian Edelman, and they're going to turn him into a receiver and he's going to be great. So coming out of high school, he was recruited. Part of the reason he went to Louisville is they were one of the few schools that were going to let him play quarterback. He was recruited to Alabama. He was recruited to Oklahoma. There's a couple other like SEC Big 12 schools that were recruiting him as a safety.
Yeah, I did hear that.
That was where he actually got most of the looks. So if he's not going to play quarterback, and look, you might as well see what you have with him in quarterback.
Yeah,
like
I'm actually hurt. So the reason why I brought it up is because last week I dumped all over the idea, mainly because I dumped all over the idea of him becoming a receiver and being something. Right at receiver.
Look,
I'm looking forward to seeing him in camp though at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like I'm not talking about pushing Mac or anything like that. I'm excited to see that skill set on the Patriots in a training camp and preseason environment. I think there's definitely a chance that he lights up a fourth quarter of a preseason game. He's got the experience and he's got the athleticism, and I think that could happen. I also think that there's definitely some intrigue and some positive developments of scout team and what looks he can give them, like for week 1 against Jalen Hurts. Like this is watered down Jalen Hurts. So what better way to prepare for Jalen Hurts than to have a guy that has a similar skill set but just isn't as good as Jalen Hurts? It's better than putting Bailey Zappi out there, or I think what they were doing was Lynn Bowden, and that's why Lynn Bowden's not here anymore.
Didn't Miles Bryant do it at one point?
I think so.
I would just say that, and I agree with all of that. If he is going to change positions, I wonder if he moves to the defensive side of the ball.
I don't think the fans would be too happy about that because they want to see that guy with the ball in his hands, and I get that.
I'm not saying I broke down all his high school tape, and this is 6 years ago.
Yeah.
That part of what makes him so exciting with the ball in his hands is his ability to quick cut and change direction.
Yeah.
Again, this is at the high school level, massive disclaimer. I'm not saying he can do this in the NFL.
Alex Scouting 4A.
You watch him as a safety. You talk about deep safeties, like reading him and cutting routes. You watch him recognize a route, put his foot in the ground, and undercut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand why Alabama wanted him to play safety. That was 6 years ago. Who knows if he can still do it? Who knows if he can do it at the NFL level? Maybe look, again, try him at quarterback, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just, if that's not going to be the path, I'm just as interested to see him at safety as I am at wide receiver.
So the last thing, and I'm not completely out on this idea. If they get into the season and short yardage is a big problem for them, they just can't pick up a 3rd and 1, or they can't punch it in on the goal line, which really hasn't been an issue for them, honestly. Last year it was, but everything was an issue for them last year.
Right.
When they had McDaniels, it wasn't an issue, and I don't think it will be an issue with O'Brien. But if it does become an issue, or if they feel like they can trust Malik Cunningham, having some sort of short yardage package with him at quarterback, it could be fun.
Yeah.
It could give them something. And that was the big thing that stood out to me, was there was a couple of like 3rd and 1s where they would just run zone read, and what's the defense going to do? Like, if you crash inside, he's taking it off the edge, and he's got the 4.5 speed to turn the corner, and he can win foot races out there, or you get the numbers inside. Like, that's the advantage.
You turn it into a college football game.
And we know that's the advantage.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a package that could be in play. Now, I'm not usually a big proponent of that. I think when you have a quarterback and the quarterback plays, right? Like, I'm not a big proponent of like the Taysom Hill thing.
Right.
But with this offense, like maybe that does get them better within the margins. Maybe that does bring them on, 3rd and 1. They're now at 85% instead of 75%, or whatever the numbers end up being.
For what it is worth,
yes.
Maybe this is very little.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien did that last year at Alabama.
Yeah.
Their backup, everybody knows about Bryce Young. Their backup quarterback is a guy named Jalen Milroe, who has a very similar skill. I mean, Cunningham's a better thrower, but like athletically is similar to Malik Cunningham. And they would at times, mostly on the goal line. I don't think they did it much in the middle of the field, like 3rd and 1 and stuff like that, because they wanted the ability to take deep shots there. But you could move it over there. They would put Jalen Milroe on the field and run read options with him and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
And they sprinkled in a couple RPOs just to kind of keep the defense honest. Bill O'Brien absolutely has that in his bag.
Yeah, I'm not totally ruling it out. All right, let's get to better, worse, Sam. Again, 855-PATS-500 is the phone number if you want to call in and weigh in on any of this, like our Malik Cunningham Wildcat package. That sounds riveting. You can give us a call. But I didn't know, I wanted to, I don't mean to shit all over Malik Cunningham. It was more of just like, I get frustrated by people that, like, why can't we just hope Tyquan Thornton ends up being good? Like, why does it have to be the UDFA quarterback that becomes a receiver that all of a sudden, he's going to be a super, like, let's hope the receivers become superstars.
You know
first,
what it is, too? We kind of did this last year with Bailey Zappi, where backup quarterback comes in and everybody all of a sudden is like, oh, he's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Look at this. He's going to win the job. He's Tom Brady. And it's like, no, because not only is it dumb, you're taking away, like, if it was that easy to do, what Tom Brady did wouldn't be impressive. So everybody sees Malik Cunningham and says, Julian Edelman. No, not necessarily. Also, Julian Edelman took like 4 years to become Julian Edelman. He was not Julian Edelman as a rookie, so it's not a one-for-one comp. And again, if you're going to say that, know the history. His second best position besides quarterback might not even be receiver. It might be safety.
Yeah, and I would also say with Julian Edelman, they knew when they drafted Julian Edelman, they weren't sure exactly where he was going to play, but they knew it wasn't going to be quarterback.
They actually were going to try him as a defensive back at one point, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they did later on, but you know what I mean.
And also, along those lines, Jacoby Myers was a receiver in college. Right, I know everybody knows that.
Completely different.
Right, I know everybody knows that Jacoby Myers played quarterback in his football career, but he changed over to wide receiver as a redshirt freshman at NC State and stayed as a wide receiver the rest of the way.
That would be like saying, have Keon White play tight end.
Yeah, right.
Which?
Stop it. All right, speaking of Keon White, let's get to better, worse, same on defense. We'll start with the defensive line. That was a good segue. And here are the names on the defensive line currently. We have Christian Barmore, Lawrence Guy, Dietrich Wise, Devon Godshaw, Carl Davis, Jeremiah Farms, Daniel Aquale, Sam Roberts, and one Keon White. I have Keon White as an end. I think he's a hand-in-the-dirt end with a 3-technique versatility.
What are you counting DeMarcus Mitchell as?
Special teamer.
Okay, fine.
Maybe a stand-up guy in spurts or in first down packages and things like that. But I think he's truly an end. That's where I have him. But in general, better, worse, or same on the defensive line.
Better. Better, because they brought everybody back, and then they added Keon White. So that's kind of an easy one. I also think, Christian Barmore was supposed to unlock a lot last year.
I'm hoping let's hope that it comes this year.
Well, I would say people were unhappy with his performance at the start of the year. I know a lot of people were critical of him.
Yeah.
I think he was better than a lot of people gave him credit for. He wasn't putting up stats, but if you actually went back and watched the games, he was influencing plays.
Yeah. His stuff, pressure rates and disruption rates are better than his sack totals.
Right. And then he had that knee injury. I think I'm not saying they brought him back too early, but he didn't look the same when he came back. I think that issue was bothering him even after he returned. So you hope, right? Now he's fully healthy. They talk about the year 3 jump, right? And how that's a big one. I'm expecting a lot from Christian Barmore this year.
Yeah, I have this image from last year in Cleveland of Barmore trying to figure out if he can go with the knee on the sidelines, and he's kind of like doing the blocking dummy thing, and he's throwing his hands into somebody and kind of pushing off the knee and seeing if he can explode the way he wants to, and you could just see the visible frustration on his face and in his whole body language. It was a tough injury for him. I definitely agree lingered. I'm going to go better as well. I think this is an underrated group, like league-wide. Like, I think this is a sneaky good group. I do start to worry a little bit about Lawrence Guy's age and effectiveness at this point, but I think ideally, and not that I am shipping Guy out of town or driving him to the bus or anything, but I think ideally somebody like a Dietrich Wise or Keon White ends up stepping up where Lawrence Guy's not playing the same type of snap total that he used to.
They have enough guys that can fill that role that I'm not super worried about. The one thing I am, if there was one knock on this group, because they've had trouble stopping the run the last couple of years.
Yeah.
If Devon Godshaw goes down, I know they like Carl Davis and he's a fine player, but that they don't
nose tackle.
They could use another nose tackle is kind of how I feel.
Yeah, they could probably use another one. Maybe I don't know. I think that they have a look right now of being a little bit more hybrid-y up front than even they are used to, and they're already a very hybrid mixed match type of defensive front as it is. But I do wonder if we see some more even or tilted 3-4, which is basically a 4-man front. Like,
right.
I think that that's in play, that we have some more 4 on the line looks, which they've done always, and they've always kind of had a little bit of that sprinkled in, but I wouldn't be shocked if that's more of a base for them this year, with Judon as a stand-up outside linebacker, but more in line over the tackle, like almost like a 5 technique, and then the 3 guys across with the hand in the dirt. Like I think that that's a possibility, that we see a decent amount of that. Maybe even Keon White is that guy that ends up being in that role, and Judon's a little bit further out. All right, I'm doing edge defenders. I know you don't like edge as a position.
No, it's not a real position.
It is a real position.
It's not.
It's a real position.
No, it's defensive end outside linebacker. We use edge because coming into the draft, there are guys that in one system might play end, in another system might play outside linebacker.
Edge.
So, but that's going into the draft, and we don't know what system they're in, so we can't classify them as one or the other. When we're talking about the Patriots, we're talking about a system. We know where they're going to be playing.
All right.
All right, go ahead. You even just said you have Keon White as a defensive end.
I do.
Isn't that edge?
No.
So you're just saying outside linebackers, and you're calling them edge.
Yeah.
All right, so say outside linebackers then.
They're 3-4 outside linebackers. That's what they are.
All right, well, it's a 3-4 defense, so they're outside linebackers.
I just said they're 3-4 outside linebackers.
Right, in a 3-4 defense, so they're outside linebackers.
Matthew Judon, Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings, Ronnie Perkins. You're going to have to help me with this one. Ola Konle Fadakasi.
Fadakasi, yeah.
I think I got
Fadakasi. I don't know the first name.
So I didn't put Jelani Tavai in this group. I have him with the inside linebackers or the off-ball linebackers.
Kind of better on the edge though.
But he's both. He's a hybrid.
Yeah. Why don't we just do linebackers?
Because some guys play on the line and some guys play off the line. My goodness. Jelani Tavai is the one guy that if you're doing the old what's the circles with the little
Venn
bit of Venn diagram, he's the one that's in the middle, right, of the linebacker group.
I don't think it's just him.
Who else do you think's in the middle?
Mack Wilson.
I think Mack Wilson. He would. When he plays on the line, though, he's in line, right? Like he's like over the guard or over the center. If we're talking about true like end of the line players, I think Tavai's the only one that truly does that at enough capacity to blend the lines. Jawan Bentley's done it like at times in like certain game planned packages.
No, but he's a middle linebacker.
He's a middle linebacker.
Yeah.
So this edge group, I think when you factor in that Tavai can fill in on that edge group where necessary, it makes the depth look a little bit better there, because on paper you really don't know outside of Judon and Uche if you're getting anything from any of these guys, right? Especially with Ronnie Perkins, like, you know, is he a human being? I don't know. So you don't really know if you're getting anything out of the rest of these guys, but Tavai kind of solidifies that depth. And I would also say that I view Keon White, because he's 285 pounds. I view Keon White as an end, as a hand in the dirt end, but maybe they think he can stand up. He does have great athleticism, so maybe they think that he can stand up. Better, worse, or same out of this edge group?
Same, maybe a little bit better if you just count on internal growth from guys like Uche and Perkins and Jennings, but...
Yeah, I'm going same.
Yeah.
I think I asked Uche today about being more of a every down player. He played 40% of the snaps last year. I've always hoped that he was going to develop into a 60, 65, 70% snap guy. His answer to me was interesting, that he said everybody has their role. Everybody has their role. It's about doing your job, maximizing your role. That makes it sound to me like he knows I'm a situational pass rusher here. I'm not going to play on first down unless it's some sort of matchup situation, and I'm going to rush the passer, which if he has 11.5 sacks again, then fine.
Right, which meanwhile, too, there's nothing wrong with being a situational pass rusher. These guys are getting paid now like they're full-time players. Lucas Van Ness just went in the top 15 in the draft.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right, so that's edge. Inside linebacker, or just linebacker.
Yeah.
Because edge is edge. Jawan Bentley, Jelani Tavai is in here as well. Raekwon McMillan, Mac Wilson, Marty Mapu with the linebackers.
Sure.
Linebacker,
I've come around on that
linebacker,
one.
Marty Mapu. Chris Board, Terez Hall, and the most surprising UDFA signing in the entire league, all 32 teams, Jordan Heelig, who I almost put with the special teamers, to be honest with you, but I have him here at linebacker because who the heck knows?
Because you already missed Calvin Munson, so.
Oh, yeah, Calvin Munson with the special teamers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heelig's, I don't know this for sure. I think there are teams that did not know he was in the draft.
I think there are teams that didn't know he existed. And I'm not trying to pick on the kid, but he was at Appalachian State. He put his name in the portal.
Right.
To transfer, and the idea was that he was going to go to some FCS school and be a stud linebacker at an FCS school, and then maybe like, you know, Marty Mapu style, you know, get his name out there and get into the draft. And the Patriots just called him up and offered him a contract. Well,
no, he took his name. That's what I'm saying.
He took his name out of the portal.
Transfer portal and declared for the draft, but it was. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how he technically did this. It was after the deadline.
Yeah.
So
wild.
I think there may have been teams that legitimately didn't know he was available.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if they knew who he was.
So he's a special teamer. He's a four-phase special teams guy at Appalachian State.
But like, he played linebacker at App State.
Not very much. He had like 50 snaps in his career.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I feel like I remember seeing him. All right. Well, he had a couple impactful ones because I remember seeing him. But I think there are teams that didn't know he was available, even if they were aware of him.
Well, good for the Patriots. That's why they pay Matt Groh and Cam Williams the big bucks. Anyways, better, worse, or same at linebacker. I'm gonna hope for better because I'm bullish about Marty Mapu. I think this guy is a player. Like I maybe I've come around on him because I was harsh about it live because I was like, wait, who? Oh yeah, that guy that got invited to the Senior Bowl after having a good NFLPA game. Like even the Senior Bowl admitted to me, Jim Nagy said he wasn't on our radar until the NFLPA game. Like he was not invited to the Senior Bowl until very, very. He was a call up to the Senior Bowl from the NFLPA game, and Nagy made an interesting point that usually they had the Shrine Bowl the week before. So they had some call-ups from the Shrine Bowl too. So now they're really going from what's that, like Honolulu Bowl, the one that
the NFLPA Bowl in Hawaii, and the I forget what the other one.
There's another one. Yeah,
because what's his name? The quarterback won MVP of both.
Quarterback
from Eastern Carolina.
Right. So I'm gonna say better. I'm really hopeful that the Patriots are hoping that Marty Mapu, and we'll see. I think the biggest thing is with him is that is he going to be healthy enough in camp with the shoulder to go at full tilt and earn this role. But I think they're hopeful that he's going to carve out that role. And I know it's not the sexiest thing in the world, but I think Chris Board's going to be a really good Patriot. Like, I think that's going to be one of those guys that maybe not as useful on defense as some of the other guys, like an Adrian Phillips or someone like that, but just someone that fits the suit, right? Like, just that's a Patriot, core special teams guy, good depth piece. So I'm going to say a little bit better.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm surprised to hear you say that about Chris Board. I've been comparing him to kind of like if Brandon Bolden played defense, like that kind of role where he's going to be a core special teamer and he'll give you a bit on defense when you need him. By the way, it's the Hula Bowl in Hawaii.
Yeah, I knew it was something Hula Bowl.
In the NFL PA Bowl in LA,
yeah.
Holton Ahlers won MVP of both of them, as well as the Birmingham Bowl. He just wins MVP of bowl games. That's all he does.
Yeah, so the NFL PA Bowl was the one that that got Marty Mapu on the map.
Okay.
That was the one, no pun intended, that Nagy in the Senior Bowl invited him off of. They heard from guys that were there, said, you got to see this kid Marty Mapu from Sacramento State. They pulled up the film on him. They invited him to the Senior Bowl like the next day.
So I at middle linebackers, I'll say better, kind of like the defensive line. They brought back literally everybody, and then they added Marte Mapu and Chris Board. So
were you surprised? I think we've maybe touched on this a little bit, but I'm a little bit surprised Mac Wilson's still here.
For what they got him for. Not really.
I guess, I'm not surprised. Like, I'm not saying they overpaid him or anything like that, but they basically benched him after he didn't push Josh Allen out of bounds in that first matchup against Buffalo last year. And
he played a lot on special teams.
He's played a lot on special teams. Yeah.
No, I'm saying for what they paid him, I'm saying he got very little money. My guess was he didn't have a ton of options of where to go.
Right.
And we know this.
It's a tough spot for him, I guess, is more what I'm saying, because he's not going to play.
It's very well
on defense.
I think the idea is he's somewhere where he knows the system, so he can come out, have a really good camp, and then maybe get cut and end up elsewhere.
Yeah, I could see that. I definitely could see him getting cut in camp if Marty Mapu has a real camp.
Yeah,
and looks the part. All right, cornerbacks, long list, 11 guys: Christian Gonzalez, Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, Jack Jones, Miles Bryant, Amir Speed, Isaiah Bolden, Sean Wade, Quadre Mosley, Rodney Randall, and Tay Hayes. This has to be better. Like, this is definitely better to me.
There's special teams guys in there, but yeah,
there's some special teamers, but guys that I think are going to be working out at corner in training camp, right? That are still going to be there. I think the most interesting thing to me about this group is, other than Christian Gonzalez, which that video yesterday did numbers, and it was downright sexy. I told you guys his hips didn't lie. He'd Shakira it all over the field in rookie minicamp, apparently.
What we saw at the combine, he changes direction. He looks like he's on skates. He looks like he could be playing defenseman for the Bruins.
And Gerard Mayo looks at him like he's a perfect 10, which I can appreciate.
Did you include Jalen Mills or no?
No.
Okay, good.
I did not. The big thing for me, other than Christian Gonzalez, is that I would like to see them make Marcus Jones the full-time slot this year.
Yes.
And I'm with the fans, for the majority of fans, that the time has come for Miles Bryant to be either significantly demoted, or maybe he's a practice squad guy that's a game day elevation when they need him, that sort of thing. They have too much talent, like real cover talent on this roster now, for guys like Miles Bryant to be playing serious time.
They're going to have so many matchup opportunities, because my question is, where does Jonathan Jones play?
Yeah.
I think before you can get to Marcus Jones, where does Jonathan Jones play?
I think he plays in the field. Like, I think he's with Z receivers like Tyreek Hill, like those move guys.
So Jack Jones is the third guy then?
I think Jack Jones is really the fourth guy. I think Christian Gonzalez is your outside boundary. Jonathan Jones is your field corner.
Yeah.
And then I think Marcus Jones is your slot. And I
meant third on the third boundary guy. Third boundary guy. Okay, yeah. I'm with, but you also have the flexibility if you need to move Jonathan Jones inside. You could go, because I think you could make an argument their three best corners are Christian Gonzalez, Jonathan Jones, and Jack Jones.
Yeah.
And like, then you take Marcus Jones off the field, which sucks, because I want him on the field.
I want him on the field for so many reasons. I think inside too, he's going to have that instinctive ability to hunt the football a little bit more than if he's pressed up against the boundary. I just feel like there's a lot more capabilities there.
other thing you can do,
like they're obviously built to match up really well against like teams like Miami with those two guys out on the field.
I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, and then with the Bills, I do think in an absolute ideal world, Christian Gonzalez is so good that it doesn't matter what body type, what skill set, whatever, he's going to take the number one receiver.
Just say, in an ideal world, he clamps Stephon Diggs.
Right. In an ideal world, he can clamp Stephon Diggs 1 week, and then he can clamp Garrett Wilson the next week, and then he can go, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever going to pass Jonathan Jones as the ideal guy against Tyreek Hill.
No.
But in terms of those, the more natural, not guys that run like a 4-1-5
true boundary receivers.
Right. In an ideal world. But I think as a rookie, we could see a decent amount of Christian Gonzalez on an island against the number 2 and Jonathan Jones on the number 1 guy with help. Like, I think that could be especially against Buffalo. Like, against Buffalo, it's Gonzalez against Gabe Davis, and then it's Jonathan Jones with a bracket or with safety help over the top against Stephon Diggs. Like, I think that's more realistic because I don't want to put too much on Christian Gonzalez right away.
The one other thing they could do, and this is now we're kind of getting ahead, but does Jonathan Jones, you could put, and this is all good because the reality is we're throwing out all these different options. They'll probably do all of these to some extent.
Yeah.
Christian Gonzalez on one boundary, Jack Jones on the other, Marcus Jones in the slot, and then Jonathan Jones is your deep safety because we've seen him play there, and he's played it well. Right?
It's possible.
And I know people think that Jalen Mills is kind of going to step in for Devin McCourty. I think it's going to be by committee.
Yeah.
I said before, how do you get your 3 best corners on the field? And we do this with the offensive line all the time.
Yeah.
Put your 5 best out there, find a way to make it work. If we're going to apply that logic to the secondary, the way to get the most talent on the field is Jack Jones, Christian Gonzalez on the boundary, Marcus Jones in the slot, Jonathan Jones, Kyle Duggar, Adrian Phillips at safety. That's your most talented secondary. Those players, however you arrange it.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, and we'll get to the safeties here in a second, is Jalen Mills is a little bit of a wild card, and I don't think Jalen Mills is converting to safety to be a deep safety. So
I don't think so either. I think he's a tight end stopper.
Yeah, I agree as well. So here's what I have at safety.
Wait, real quick, 2 more things on the corners.
Yes.
When Jalen Mills is I did this on Patriots Beat the other week. We actually did the depth charts for base defense and passing down defense. Yeah. Jalen Mills is coming on to almost take a linebacker off the field.
Correct.
When Jalen Mills comes on, it's to take a linebacker off to man up on a tight end.
Yes.
Or maybe, a running back, big wide receiver. The other thing I'd say on Miles Bryant, because you mentioned him real quick, Miles Bryant needs to, if he's going to play defense, play safety. Because as much as people want to hate on Miles Bryant, and I get it, he's looked bad. He's
not an NFL man cover corner.
They have used him completely wrong. You can't put him on Isaiah McKenzie. He's not fast enough.
He's not a man corner. He's not fast enough to be a man corner in the NFL.
There are
he can play zone just fine.
I will say there are 2 things Miles Bryant does very well.
Yeah.
He knows he's very smart.
Yeah.
He knows what he's looking at. He can dissect a play.
And he knows where he's supposed to go. He does.
Right. Now, getting there quick enough is the other thing. But he can get there. The other thing he does, he's a surprisingly good tackler, especially for his size. And I know people will go back to that game against the Jets 2 years ago where he got run over for a touchdown.
Yeah, he got run over by Nyheim Hines.
All things considered, for a defensive back, he's a pretty good tackler. Yeah. Or are you trying to disagry with me?
No, I think he's a good tackler. I do. My point is that we tend to isolate 1 or 2 plays. Yeah. Especially when it comes to tackling. I always hear this, and this is not to go on some rant here, but I always hear people that and they call into the show, they email into the show too, that complain about the Patriots tackling. The Patriots are routinely one of the best tackling defenses in the NFL. Top 5 in missed tackle rate in the good way every single year. Yeah. So what that tells you is that there's a lot of missed tackles every single week. It's hard to tackle these guys, okay?
Especially now.
It's hard to tackle these guys. The Patriots are one of the best tackling defenses in the league.
So to bring it back to Miles Bryant, he recognizes plays well. He's a good tackler. To me, if he's going to play on defense, I'm not saying he should be the replacement for Devin McCourty, but as a deep safety, put him on the back end where everything's in front of him. He's coming up on the play. He's not chasing. Sure. Put him on the back end. Let him diagnose the play in front of him. Step up. Make the play. in that role, as like a reserve in that kind of role,
not terrible.
He'd be, yeah. I mean, that's what he's going to give you what you need, and
best,
then you play him on special
but
teams.
at best, he's a dime backer, right? Like he's like the sixth defensive back on the field.
What I'm saying is, stop putting him out there as a true slot corner to man up receivers. He can't do that, but that's not indicative of the player he is. He does other things well. I just think his rookie year in 2020, he was actually asked to do a lot of what he did well, and I think he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, they haven't necessarily asked him to do what he does best. Not a lot.
Yeah.
And I think they should try to get back to that.
Fair enough. Safeties. Kyle Duggar, Adrian Phillips, Jabril Peppers, Jalen Mills, Joshua Bledsoe, and Brad Hawkins. So
Isaiah Bolden might be a safety too.
He might be.
I say that every time we talk about
corner
him,
right now.
That's fair, but I think he might be a safety.
So I have to say worse about this group because I have just way too much damn respect for Devin McCourty to say better or even same. So I have to say worse for this group, but I'm really, as a film junkies and nerds that we are, I am just really fascinated to see how exactly they go about replacing Devin McCourty and who plays where and what. Like that's going to be something that I'll probably do a breakdown at some point on and really log like who's where and what role and things like that. The main thing that I think here, I believe that between Adrian Phillips and Kyle Duggar, those two guys I think are going to be the true free safeties in this group. They'll probably be a little bit interchangeable, and they'll probably play a little bit more split safety than we've seen them in the past, or too high, cover two style. Jalen Mills, to me, is there to cover tight ends. I think that's going to be his role, and that then frees up Duggar, of course, to be a little bit more of a rover or like a rat or a deep safety and be a little bit more of that instinctive ball hawker in the middle of the defense, which I think has a lot of value. One of the big things that I've always thought about Duggar, and I hope that this is the long-term plan, and I hope he is in the long-term plans, by the way, is I don't think that his best use is covering tight ends. I think that really pigeonholes him to not being able to make as much impact on the ball as he truly could. I've always said that I think he's Rodney Harrison, right? Like I think that ideally he's a guy that, like Rodney, who would just fill up the stat sheet. Like, don't you think pressure on the quarterback, force fumbles, interceptions, tackles, like always around the ball. And that's really what I want to see them do with Kyle Duggar, because that type of playmaking, I think it would really help out this defense, especially now that they have Christian Gonzalez to kind of steady the back end a little bit more, where it's can have some players that are maybe a little bit more volatile, right? And kind of going for those big plays instead of just always playing positionally sound ball. I just really like the idea of Kyle Duggar being a little bit more free. Like let's take the training wheels off. Let's stop putting him on the tight end where he just has this one guy and that's just his assignment on this play. And let's make him a jack of all trades, like truly, because he's got that type of athleticism and he's got that type of nose for the football. So like they used to do with Rodney, right? Like just everywhere. That's what I want to see them be with Kyle Duggar.
So on the safety position as a whole, I say better, kind of like it's the opposite. Remember last week when we did offensive line, it was I feel better, but like it doesn't really mean much.
Yeah.
I feel worse, I guess, because they don't have Devin McCourty, but it still might be the best position group on the team.
Yeah, it just gives them a lot more flexibility because, and Devin even said this, like, you always knew where Devin was going to be.
There's a little Ewing theory going on here.
Devin is a center fielder, and you always knew he was going to be there, and it kind of made everybody else, like Kyle Duggar, it made them fit into other roles, right? Like Kyle Duggar had to learn the Chung style role because that was his way on the field, because he wasn't going to play free safety because Devin McCourty was blocking him at playing from playing free safety. So he just had to be that. Maybe there is an even better level for Kyle Duggar now that Devin McCourty isn't here in a weird way. Even though the team as a whole, I think, gets worse from Devin McCourty, I think there's individual players, Kyle Duggar especially, that might get better from Devin McCourty not being here in his own vacuum, right? Not saying as an entire defense.
Just on Duggar real quick, it's to sort of bring back the conversation we had last week. And I'm not asking you this to pick a fight. I'm asking you this because I'm legitimately asking you. Said Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
If Rodney Harrison enters the league now, what position does he play?
Here or everywhere?
Just in like if he was in the draft.
Probably linebacker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's the role you want Kyle Duggar.
I want Kyle Duggar to basically be a rover. Like, I want him to not have an assignment.
Positionless.
I want him to just play football. Like, see ball, get ball, Kyle. Like, that's all I want. Because you know what I really want in my wildest dreams? Taylor Swift reference. You like that?
Okay.
You didn't know that, did you?
No.
God dang it. Come on, that was a good one.
Is that one of her songs, In My Wildest Dreams? Okay.
Yes.
I like
in my wildest dreams,
Yeah.
Kyle Duggar, you just see him like streaking across the field, and Josh Allen's trying to scramble, and Kyle Duggar just comes out of nowhere and just lights him up. Like,
So
that's what I want. See ball, get ball, Kyle. Whether you're in zone and you're playing the football in the air, or you're attacking the line of scrimmage, and when they allow him to do that, that's how we had 5 defensive touchdowns or whatever, or 3 defensive touchdowns, whatever it was last year. Like, that's how you get to that number, is because he's just flying.
So you want him to be a guy that could push like 30-30.
Yeah,
Interesting. So
I do.
You're essentially
He's Rodney Harrison.
you want him to be box safety Ed Reed.
Yes,
Interesting.
Rodney Harrison.
Okay. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
There's only 2 30-30 guys. Rodney Harrison, Ray Lewis. That's it.
Rodney Harrison. All right.
30-30 being interceptions and
Yeah.
career interceptions, career sacks.
We're going to get the specialist. Don't worry. I know you're worried about us doing the specialist here in a second, but I want to take Patty from Agawam on the phone. Thanks for hanging on, Patty. What's up?
Hey, anytime, guys.
What's going
I'm
on?
glad you're talking about defense. Is it crazy to think that if this defense is statistically like a top 3, but they also look and play like a top 3 defense this year, and I'm going to give you guys my offensive breakout player. I think it's going to be Mac this year, and if like Mac has seasons similar to like what he looked like his senior year in Alabama, I'm not saying that he's going to like throw for 48 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, but if he looks like he can play, is it crazy to think that this team could win like between 10 and 12 games this year?
I think 12 is pushing it a little bit. I don't think it's crazy for them to win 10 games if Mac takes a step. But I don't think it's crazy. But I love the optimism, Patty, that Mac Jones is your breakout player. I like that, and I think certainly, and thanks for the call, Patty. I think certainly the way that they get to that level is if Mac breaks out, right? Like, that's the only way.
Exactly.
Like, as much as I'm bullish on the defense, I think the defense is going to be good. I think the collection of players on offense is going to be better because of the coaching. But the only way that they truly, let's forget about win totals. The only way they win a playoff game or are truly competitive in a playoff game, so that means they made the playoffs and they potentially win one, is if Mac Jones has a breakout year.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. All right, let's do your specialists. I have specialists and I have coverage aces, right? I have two different
we're doing
specialists.
2? Oh, wow. You really got into this.
So on specialists,
We're not doing kicker, punter, long snapper all separate?
they're just specialists.
All right.
We have, you realize that they have competition at every spot.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. Joe Cardona, Tucker Addington, Nick Folk, Chad Ryland, Bryce Behringer, Corliss Waitman.
Crawless? I thought it was Corliss.
Corliss. I have a
Corliss,
typo.
okay.
I have a typo. Corliss Waitman.
No, now you have me confused.
No, I think it's Corliss. You're right. Better, worse, same is kind of hard on this one because we don't know what the rookies are, if they're going to be able to.
Well, look, they're better at punter.
They're better. That's what I was going to say. They got to be better at punter.
They're better
right?
at punter. Kicker's a question mark. It's like, how real did you think Nick Folk's slide was at the end of last year?
Yeah.
But the reality is, even if there's a chance that was a sign of just this is who he is now, he's 37, he's done.
Yeah.
You so want to get ahead of it at kicker. You don't want to have a kicker mid-season who doesn't have it. And long term, they're in better shape. And they just made Joe Cardona the highest paid. Well, for like a month, he was the highest paid long snapper in the NFL.
No,
it just got broken.
Tucker Addington is here for training camp, and that's it.
But
I wonder.
Let me just point that out, though. Everybody who freaked out that why do they have to make him the highest paid long snapper in NFL
He's not
history?
the highest paid anymore?
No, I think it was the Ravens guy broke it. Every long snapper that gets paid becomes the highest paid long snapper. It's like
none
quarterback.
of them get paid.
Right.
Anyways,
so that's just what you do.
I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure on Chad Ryland. Chad Ryland has to win that competition. If you're gonna tell me that you used a 4th round pick on a guy you're cutting because Nick Folk's a better kicker than him, that's going to be tough pill to swallow. They need Chad Ryland to work out. They do. And I'm not saying it's like the end of the world, like, fire Belichick as the kicker. No, I'm not saying that. But they really need that to work out.
You can't miss on 2 kicker picks in
especially one that you took in the 4th round when you have all these other needs and you took a kicker anyways. You traded up for him, which I don't really care about, but that's also a part of it.
That was where they had to take him to get him. Because the Niners took Moody 99. That's the game. They were playing the game. But if he doesn't pan out, it looks like they panicked that Moody went and they just took the next guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is some weight on that pick. I would
there
agree
is
with that.
100%. All right, coverage aces, and there's obviously some guys like Chris Board and maybe some of the rookie corners like Bolden and Amir Speed that might factor in here. But these are just pure coverage aces in my mind. Matthew Slater, DeMarcus Mitchell, Cody Davis, Brendan Schooler, Calvin Munson, and Raleigh Webb. Same, maybe
a little better just because you figure they get Cody Davis back, right? They lost him last year early on.
It's a sneaky one.
We don't know what he'll look like. He had a pretty serious injury, and will he be the same guy? But same, maybe a little better.
Yeah, I think same. But I do think as a unit, I mean, the amount of resources that they've invested into special teams this offseason to make that unit better is kind of wild. Like, when you really think about it.
Actually, because you did this last week with the quarterbacks. You brought up Bill O'Brien to say the quarterbacks will be better. Joe Judge is back over there now.
Yeah.
So, I'll say better.
Yeah. And if you invest this much, and look, I know a lot of fans are already there with Cam McCord. Like, I think there's a lot of people out there. I get this once a week. Why does Cam McCord still have a job? Right? Like, I can't even tell you how many times I've heard that. I am with Bill on this. I think Cam McCord's a good coach. I think he loves football. I think he loves special teams, and you need to love special teams to be a special teams coach. Like, that's not... there's so many weird nuances to knowing anything about special teams that if you're really going to nerd out and learn about angles of holding, remember when he taught us that, the different if you're really going to nerd out and learn about stuff like that to coach it, you got to really love it. I'm sorry, you're not going to sit there and worry about I like it tilted on a this way or that way or this, depending on the wind and the this and then that. You're not going to do all that kind of stuff if you're not really into it. I think he's got the passion for it. I think he brings great energy, and I do think that he's a good coach. But you have now taken 2 specialists in the draft. You have paid Joe Cardona. You have signed Chris Board. You have all these coverage aces, right? All the guys I just named. Does any other team carry 6 guys into training camp that are really only going to play on special teams? I don't think that's really that common across the league. They definitely need to see results on special teams this year because they've put a ton of resources personnel-wise into it. And we always try to read between the lines with Bill. He clearly thinks that personnel was the issue last year on special teams because that's what they've done, and they've completely revamped it. So they got to be really good in that phase. Not just better than last year or not, have the disasters that they had last year on special teams. They need to be like what they were a couple years ago.
They need to be winning games on special teams. They should be blocking kicks and housing returns and things like that decide games.
Yeah, flipping the field with the new punter, things like that. So there's better, worse, the same for the entire roster. Like I mentioned, that you can go back and listen to offense from last week. We did defense, special teams this week, so we covered all of the bases. A couple final things. Exciting that we'll get out to OTAs next week. Yep. So we'll have OTAs from 11 to 1:15, I think, is the time that we were told today is going to generally be it. So we'll have Catch-22 on Thursday afternoon. 2 o'clock might be pushing it. We might be a little bit later than normal, but we'll do it right fresh off of observing OTAs, so you'll have a full OTA recap from us, and we'll do that for after every single OTA, so that will be a lot of fun, and you can have all of we'll empty the notebook on that one. We'll give you all everything that happened and everything that went on at OTAs. Before we get to OTAs though, Alex, I just dropped a perfectly placed Taylor Swift reference that went right over your head.
Which one was it?
The Wildest Dreams one, which is one of her biggest songs, so I'm a little disappointed in you. This is nothing I have seen. This might be more than a home AFC championship game, what's going on right now for this concert. This is wild. the amount of people that were down here just to buy merch on like a random Thursday morning. I pull up to the stadium before Avails this morning, and there's like a line out the freaking parking lot to just buy a t-shirt that says Taylor Swift on it. Your face is telling me that you have no F's about this whatsoever, but these 3 days this is like, this is one of the biggest events in Foxborough history. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's cool. There's a lot going on.
He does not care. Give me one Taylor Swift song. You gotta have one.
Are You Ready For It was the ESPN college football theme in 2017, I think.
You had that answer
whenever
prepared.
That came out.
You had that
no,
answer.
we used to, when I was in college, was when, I think it's, is it Red? Is
Yes.
the album with like 22?
In Trouble, yes.
Yeah, so we used to blast that all the time. I kind of stopped following her after that.
Yeah.
Not like stop. I'm obviously still aware of it, but that was like my peak listening to Taylor Swift.
I think Red in 1989. We were in college for both of
Yeah.
those. Those were huge. Her new stuff is still good. It still bops. I'm a bops guy. Like I like the pop stuff. I'm not
thing
gonna
is,
lie.
like, it's gotten to the point where it's so much like the mythology of Taylor Swift
Yeah.
and all that, and that's where you lose me.
So-
I don't have the energy to follow.
Well,
that.
here's the thing. I was talking to this is recently, not very recently,
Yeah.
but somewhat recently. My dad and my uncle on my dad's side are real big into music, like
Yeah.
70s. Is like their big decade, I would say. But they're really into music, and they grew up and they had so many great acts, like so many great all-time bands, the Rolling Stones, the Who, Zeppelin, like just go on down the line. And even like single acts like Elton John and Bruce and Billy Joel and Madonna and like all
Yeah.
these. And when you really think about it, in our generation, like she's kind of it. Like she's the only one that touches that.
There
like,
aren't many acts that can fill up an entire stadium for 2-3 nights. And
she's
that are new.
3 straight nights,
Right.
completely sold out.
I mean, it's her. Foo Fighters, I think, did back-to-back nights sold out here kind of recently.
Yeah.
Green Day's up there.
Green Day is the one like rock band that I can think of that has some of that.
But you're right.
It's just tough.
A lot of the bigger acts now, they couldn't sell out Gillette, not
No.
multiple nights. So
No, she could have done a 4th night and still sold
Oh,
it
yeah.
out. Like she could
She
do
could've
a
done
whole week.
She could have done
Yeah.
a residency.
Yeah.
The really interesting, it's from a couple years ago. Somebody wrote this piece about how Taylor Swift is essentially our generation's Bruce Springsteen. There's the same sort of culture around her and her music and all of that. I always think of that one because my parents are big Bruce people. That's been passed down to me. I'm a big Bruce fan, and when I look at what's going on here and all of that, obviously it's different now because Bruce's fans are older, and I don't want to say his content's so watered down, but he's done 10 times, if not 100 times the shows that Taylor's done. It's just it's been done. When I kind of look at all this, I see it. I can kind of see that similarity. So that being said, I'm hyped for Bruce in August.
Oh my God, here we go.
I am very
Had
excited
to get
for
that in there.
That's going to be on a Thursday, so I don't know if we'll have a show that day, but
it's going to be wild. This whole concert, like, if you have no purpose to come down here Friday through Sunday, do not come down here. Like,
Don't.
Like, this is going to be mayhem. And I also will say, because I already said this to you off the air, don't come down here trying to tailgate and just, like, listen to the concert from outside. Because, like, there's going to be police and like, they're not letting that.
Can't do that.
They're not letting that happen. Because there's been that's happened in other locations on this tour that people have just posted up outside the venue and listened to it from the parking lot. And that's not going to go down here. Like, they're going to be really strict about that.
I grew up like really close to the stadium.
Yeah.
Like really close to the point where, so 2 things. I was talking to one of my I don't live there anymore. My parents don't live there anymore. But I was talking to one of my old neighbors the other day. We used to know Sundays in the fall, and then when there were certain concerts, you go out, you get what you need to get done on Saturday.
Right.
You're going to stay in. Sunday is a day to stay in.
Yeah.
And they are very, like, for the week, they're like, they went to the supermarket. They got stocked up because, like,
Yeah.
not going to be able to get to the supermarket with all this. The other thing we used to do that was very cool, you mentioned that people couldn't go and can't come and just sit outside and listen to the concert. On the right night, I could sit in my backyard. I remember Beyonce was here in...
Beyonce and Jay-Z, I was at that
Was
concert.
that 2011? 2011 or 2012?
Oh my God, was it that long ago?
Yeah, I was in high
God,
school.
I'm so old.
And a couple of my buddies came over early in the day because they didn't want to deal with traffic.
Yeah.
And we sat out in the backyard. We had the grill going. We could hear the concert.
Yeah.
And if my parents still lived there, that's what I would go and listen from there. That was some fun memories. And I'll just, since I'm telling the story, because it's a Patriots podcast, I'll bring it back to this. I remember, like for some reason, I remember it specifically in 07. I could probably do it other seasons. I would like listen to the game. I didn't have a TV in my room growing up. I'd listen to the game, because my parents didn't let me. I'd listen to the game on the radio, Gil Santos, right?
Of course.
But I would get spoilers because my window was open.
You could hear the
I could hear the crowd go nuts, and then but meanwmeanwhile, Gil's still setting up 1st and 10 from then. I'm like, all right, what's going to happen? Here we go. So.
Yeah, this is a good off-season topic, and I don't want to go too long here, but I think people like Gil Santos are just like, that's such his voice. It will be in like
it's the soundtrack to
I will never forget
my childhood. Yeah,
I will never forget it. What a legend. Really quickly.
Yeah.
The Celtics. I got to get something off my chest about the Celtics from last night because it's been killing me. The main thing that I find so frustrating about this Celtics team is really two things, but they're related. One, they only win games one way. They really only win games one way. And when I mean one way, I mean like one style, right? Like they only win. They can't win playing the other team's pace or playing the other team's way. And if the other team, like last night, Spo, I thought had a good game plan to kind of get them out of the drive and kick 3-point barrage that they put on Philly in Game 7. If they don't play to that script, they don't win. And I don't know if this is, I think, where all the skepticism and all the distrust in this team comes from, is because if you can't win in 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways, it's really hard to win a title that way. Like, it's really hard to win 16 games in the postseason when you need to win 16 of them carbon copies of each other. And even in football, like the Patriots, Alex, how many different types of games did the dynasty era Patriots win? Right. Defensive battles, offensive shootouts, like middle grounds. Like they won them in so many different ways. The Celtics team wins one way. It's Missoula ball. It's 43s. It's drive and kick. It's the same thing. It's 130 points. Like that. That's how this team wins. And I think that's where a lot of the distrust comes from. The second thing, that third quarter, like you can't have that third quarter. You can't win championships with giving up 46-point quarters like that.
Right.
And so that's where it all comes from. But with all that said, I still like them in the series. I still like them to win it all. Like, I still think that it doesn't matter. Like, I still think that they're good enough there it might not matter. But, man, watching them is a roller coaster. Well, it is a roller coaster.
This has been a thing. They've been a bad third quarter team in the playoffs since last year. It's they've been a negative team in the
They're
third
so
quarter.
Jekyll and Hyde. And it's
I will
tiring.
say this, though.
I'm tired.
Here's what I'll say about it. And, yeah, they need to be better in the third quarter, and they still certainly can win the series. But I told people not to sleep on this Miami Heat team. I told people not to sleep on Jimmy Butler.
It's not that people are sleeping
on
the
I think a lot of people saw them as an 8 seed.
No, they're
and
not.
Don't
it's not
think
that
of Jimmy Butler as a superstar.
Jimmy Butler is a superstar. But
a lot of people don't think so.
And I think the TNT that's ridiculous. But the TNT broadcast, I think, said it well at halftime. If you were to draft the two teams, like old school, on a playground, like here's these 24 guys.
Felger and Maz draft the series. Jimmy Butler might be the number one guy drafted.
Yeah. Might be. I think him and Jason Tatum both have a case. And Bam Adebayo certainly gets drafted early.
Yeah.
Other than, how many straight Celtics do you get after that?
But the Heat, they play so far above their talent level because the motor is just insane.
That was one thing that I was reminded of last night because the Celtics were up 9 at the half, and they just kept coming, man.
Right, and
they're like Rocky Balboa. They just put their head down and they keep coming.
In that spot, the Sixers would have quit.
Yeah,
the Heat actually play better when they're behind.
It's terrible. It's so infuriating to watch the Heat play.
Yeah, they are. Don't sleep on them.
I'm not sleeping on them. I would love to root for them. Like they're a perfect basketball team.
Oh, I will root for them in the finals if
they're a perfect I don't do that. I don't root for teams like that. Can't do it.
Well, I'm going to root against the Lakers. Obviously,
I root against teams, but people ask me who are you rooting for in the hockey playoffs with the Bruins out? Nobody, no one. Everybody loses.
Vegas,
just Armageddon.
Bruce Cassidy.
All right. we'll be back next week, and hopefully we're back to talk about the Celtics winning that series, or at least being ahead in the series or something like that. But like I mentioned, we'll be back, and we'll recap OTAs, first OTA practice next Thursday. We're looking forward to it. Until then, signing off for Alex Barth, I'm Evan Lazar. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.